The next, then you get when there's a surgery.
learn how to make a football out of paper.
A lot of problems we gotta.
That's why we got whiskey.
I have to reboot.
It's working now?
It's working now. I just turned it down.
Oh, look, Brenda got it going.
You can now be IT.
Okay.
I give it to you.
IT Brenda.
You are now gifted.
Getting mad at it.
That's all IT gets. Should have seen me upstairs when I was trying to fix that computer.
I was like, it's time for bed. It's just six.
It's
just 6 o'clock.
That's been me.
Everybody back, ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
We'll reconvene in open session at 7:39 PM. Take action if any on matters discussed in executive session. I don't believe there's any action. No action. All right, moving on. Workshop agenda, review, discuss, and provide direction. Item number 9, presentation, review, and discussion of subdivision code. Ms. Myra, Ms.
So-
Patty?
We have Miss Patty Akers here, who's helped us over the last couple of months create a subdivision code. As you all know, there is development knocking on our doors, and it's prudent for us to make sure that we have the processes in place and the code to help us through that. And so the subdivision code is going to kind of create that process for us. So from, preliminary plats to final plats, construction plans, everything that we as the city and you all as not only council, but as planning and zoning will have to take action on as we see these developments come in that want to either annex, want to subdivide, want to build. This will all be something that we've kind of had 1s and 2s of rezones and variances, but it's kind of a whole new world when you enter the development game of annexations and then platting. It's kind of it's a long process for some, typically something that you see with development. It takes about year and a half of entitlements, and that's that process, the subdivision code process, before they can really even go vertical. And so, Patty, I don't know if you had anything that you wanted to kind of touch on
Yeah,
as you worked with us on this.
I'd like to just give you a brief overview because it's been a while since we talked about it. I will note that we did add one more section to the subdivision. It's very back. It's section number 1066, so it should be easy to remember, your history. And it is a ordinance that explains how people connect to your water, wastewater, and get line extension. And so most cities, and this one in particular, it's a reimbursement for a payment by the developer. So the developers pay their way, and it's the citizens are not supporting, new debt to pay for utility extensions to the development. So, and it's a pretty common thing that most cities do. If they've got to go half a mile to get your sewer line to their property, if it's not serving the citizens that have already paid for the plant and all the land lines that are in the ground. So it's a good mechanism to have to make that developer, pay their proportionate share. Subdivision, in the planning process, the planning and subdivision is pretty much the same, although sometimes you're not dividing property, you're actually combining property. And you need a way to make a combined piece of property, a legal tract or lot, so that it can be developed. Subdivision ordinances implement state law, so the reason we have them is state law says we have to have them. Counties do it in their jurisdiction, cities do it in city jurisdiction. But it's a way that somebody can plat their property in order to be able to sell it to a third party or to buy it from a third party. And the rules that apply in a subdivision, they've gotten from bad to worse in the last few years with the 30-day shot clock, which was invented by someone who's never developed a piece of property in their life, because you can't do it in 30 days. It's just really not possible. But we have attempted in this ordinance to provide for the shot clock and to do as much pre-application education and meetings with the developer in advance before they ever file their application. Because once the application is complete and it comes in, then the shot clock ticks. And you have to take up their plat application within the 30 days.
So I'll just, how many of you all are aware of kind of the shot clock process? So essentially what happens is, as soon as a developer comes in and says, here's my application, I'd like to plat, I'd like to construct, whatever part of the development process they're working through, the city then has to take that, review it, and then we look for completeness. So if it's a complete application, the city then has to take it, and we essentially have to take action within 30 days on that. And so for some of these, they could be a 200-acre tract, right? Our engineers may not know within 30 days whether or not, we have the utilities for it, whether or not it meets our code, whether or not it is something that the city would like to see, if it's zoned right. And so then you're going to have to work through all of that process, whether it needs to be a rezone. And so what happens then is you have to kind of work through, all right, you take action, and then you continue this process of I think after the first one, it's 15 days.
After they
The first,
respond.
yeah. And then it's kind of on a 15-day timer. And so the city's going to have to do, and so from what we have already, we have one annexation currently. I've got a few that want to subdivide, and then trying to think through anything else. We have some development kind of knocking on our doors. They're looking to see, they're kind of in that utility evaluation phase. So from the city's perspective, this is going to be something that's going to be cumbersome. We're currently not really staffed for it. We don't have the level of professionalism for this type of work. Often you see planners and engineers that are on staff that really handle this. So that's going to be something that we'll try to work through as well as we have a lot of this influx come in.
But in the meantime, we've been doing fees and having the developers execute performance agreements, so they reimburse the city for engineering and legal fees.
Correct.
And when you do your master plan, you want to keep that in there as part of your fee schedule so that it's actually required by ordinance. And this will have value to the local citizens. If you have a 5-acre tract and you want to subdivide it into 2 lots in order to sell part of your lot to somebody else, then this is what you have to have in order to make that process work. So it's not just big development, and there's some, I think, don't we have a short form in here, I think, for replats and some other things that aren't too complicated.
And it's, unfortunately, I didn't print, so I'll have to print it all for you all. There's no action on it tonight. We just wanted to give you a quick overview, and I'll print it and have it for you all to review. And then tonight, it's really just the public hearing after this. But just wanted to introduce it because it's going to be, it's a game changer for us. It's really great that we've been working on this and we're about to adopt it here soon. Especially the chapter or the 1066 section that she mentioned, which is it will require developers to extend the utilities at their own cost. So that's water, wastewater, and electric. It'll now be codified in ordinance. That's how we're now operating regardless, because the city doesn't have the budget to do these extensions. So by default, you shouldn't have to pay for them. But there could be a case where some may say, well, we'll just wait until you have the money. But because we don't have any kind of master plan for water, wastewater, right now we're in a place where we can say, listen, we're just not in a place to extend it. But once we do get to that level of sophistication, then
If you get to a point where you can't provide wastewater, then you've got the framework in the subdivision ordinance, and now you've got a zoning code that's gonna be in place. You can make property a minimum 1 acre lot. And that is big enough to get septic. So we haven't put that language in here, but it's there and you can add it if it becomes necessary.
any
Questions?
questions?
So that was the item number 11. I'm sorry, number 9.
Mayor, did you want to open the public hearing?
Well,
We'll do that in just a moment.
Okay.
We still have number 10, right? Ms.
Yes.
Meyer? Discussion on cities, boards, and commissions.
so this item was placed, as you all know, we've had difficulty filling our boards and commissions. And then as of late, we've not been able to have some of our boards and commissions meet. From the library board, Miss Dina, as we all know, has had some health conditions. So we've not been able to have a quorum there. And so I wanted to bring this topic to you all to consider whether or not we want to have council members start serving on some of these boards and commissions so that we can at least have some movement still going with these until we can kind of get more civic engagement. And so just wanted to put that on there, discuss it with you all, see if that's something that may be of interest. I know y'all have busy lives, so it'd be more time dedicated to public meetings. But I think for us, the biggest concern is maybe the library and then just being able to keep that operating. It's been operating essentially with just AP right now, and he's limited to what he can work. And really appreciate the efforts that he's been putting in over there to kind of keep it going. But we also need, it is our library, so we need to make sure that we can do something about it to make sure it continues to operate, because we've put in a lot of investment into that. And it's a really great resource for our community.
Is that something that just gets assigned, or how do we do that?
Pardon?
We would just assign council members to that, or?
So yeah, often what you see is council members can volunteer for certain boards or commissions, and then it would just be an appointment process later on that we would do. So you could say, there's no bylaws that I believe that we have for any of our boards and commissions, so it's not like there's a mandatory 2 council members per, but we could just say, somebody can serve
The library
and
board does have that.
What?
They have a minimum on the board.
they have a minimum of members, but not necessarily one council member has to serve or.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, I don't mind doing the library board if that's where I'm needed.
That's just for discussion.
This is just for discussion,
That's
so
fine, I'm just saying, do I need to fill out a
if you'd like.
form or,
yeah.
okay.
And if you know of anybody in the community that would like to serve, then please reach out to them. Sometimes I find that kind of a one-on-one is a little bit more helpful. Social media, I mean, people may read it, but it's not gonna do the same impact as having somebody kind of ask them to serve.
This is our plea, basically, you guys reach out to friends and family, neighbors, people in the community that ask them, let them know that we are seeking volunteers for these positions, MDD as well as library. Library mainly right now, MDD's still got, I believe, 4 members.
So they can function.
Yeah,
They're
they've been meeting.
functioning. We need to put that 5th member in there and possibly even find a replacement for another one that's had some health issues also. So we need volunteers in both sectors. So Just putting that out there. So,
You'd get to serve with the wonderful Mr. Jesse Luna on the library board.
all right. Moving on to the public hearing and ordinance. Item number 11, hold public hearing to consider the adoption of a new code of ordinances. So we'll open this public hearing at 7:53 p.m. We have two public hearings tonight, so we'll do them separate, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this item number 11, hold public hearing to consider an adoption of the new code of ordinances at 7:53 p.m. This is where you guys in the audience can ask any questions that you'd like. Council, ask any other questions that you'd like. By law, we have to have this public hearing. So.
No one signed up to speak.
No one did sign up to speak, but public hearing is open to the floor. So, anyone?
I just want to know what it is.
So the code of ordinances is essentially all of the ordinances that have been passed by previous councils. It's this beautiful document here. So it's essentially what kind of allows the city to do what they do. So it's got from, as you mentioned, planning, zoning, we've got nuisances, code, different things with code violation. It also lays out the roles and duties of the city administrator, mayor, council.
Tom.
I'll pass on that, thank you.
There's a test. There's a test at the end. So,
But in order to get this codified, we have to go through this process. And then once codified, we'll work with who we have, Franklin Legal, to then get this loaded onto the website because we want to be more transparent about all of the codes that we have. That way residents know, what the code of ordinances is for the city.
so this is something that's been in play for, this has been going
4
on
years.
5
Several
years,
years, yes.
5 years,
Yeah.
something.
Several
Gotta
years.
be legally
Yeah.
posted.
Yeah.
So where do you find these?
Once
I
we,
need to sign the book? It's gonna-
this book, it should be, it was in the agenda packet, right? So it's on the agenda packet on the website.
Okay.
If you go to the website, the City of Bartlett website, just look at today's agenda packet.
I can send it. Well,
Yes,
I
so-
think the agenda-
Responded with an email.
They did? She did?
Just now respond.
Oh, my goodness. I can see what the government is. Get someone to read it for us.
So we did find some issues based on there was a certain chapter that still needs to get amended based on a new ordinance we found in the archives that is upstairs. So while this action is on, while this item's on action for later, my recommendation would be that we actually do not take action until we can verify and then get it amended the correct way. So then it's just one approval instead of going back and forth.
No
No.
motions at the moment, public hearing only.
Just public hearing.
So if there's any other questions, feel free to ask. If not, we'll close the public hearing. Any additional questions on this item? All right, we'll close the public hearing at 7:57 p.m. And then item number 12 is another public hearing. Hold public hearing to consider the adoption of the subdivision code, amending the code of ordinances and establishing an effective date. So this is what Ms. Patty was just telling us about, I believe, and we will open this public hearing at 7:57 p.m. Once again, anybody want to have any discussion, questions? Emotions? Nothing. Ms. Patty drove all the way over here from Georgetown, Texas.
My pleasure.
Ask her something. How was the drive?
So what's your effective date?
As soon as you pass it. That is the effective date.
That'll be the next meeting.
So we get a motion for that then?
This is just public hearing, and there is no action on this one later than that.
The action on this one will come back next meeting. So if no discussions, no questions, we'll thank Ms. Patty for her time. And we'll close this public hearing at 7:58 PM. Ms. Patty, thank you.
Mayor, council, and staff.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Talk to you in a couple days. Moving into the regular agenda, these are the action items: review, discuss, and consider action. Item number 13, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance 2023-1113-01, adopting and enacting a new code of ordinances. This is the one where we just spoke about. We're going to recommend that we table this until next meeting, until we get that one little thing amended. It's in there, we adopt it one time and not have to keep going back and forth. So we'll do no action. And we'll do a table, right?
Mhm.
Do we have a date on the next meeting?
The 23rd,
Table until 11:23.
I want to say the 27th.
Hold on.
Let's get it right.
23rd is Thanksgiving,
Oh, so 27th.
so 27th.
I was thinking about turkey, sorry.
All right. Sounds good.
One last one.
All right, item number 14, consideration possible action to approve ordinance 2023-11302 for a zoning map amendment to rezone approximately 0.3214 acres of land from B3 General Business District to C1 Commercial District for the property generally located at 240 East Davila Street, Bartlett, Texas, and Bartlett in Bell County, Texas. This is the one we had the public hearing on last meeting, correct?
Yes. And then this is the one where we went back and asked our attorney for their guidance, and just given the way that our C1 is written, they are not recommending the rezone, just given that it's not something that you can go ahead and approve C1, but then not approve C1 and caveat only B1, B2, and B3. So that was kind of their recommendation, that we do not approve the rezone.
Any discussion, Ms. Cooper?
No, I was hoping that she would speak on it. I think we were asking if there could be some variance in reference to the B3, but that was the question, was my understanding we were asking the attorney.
I did ask on this because when you look at
Right.
B3, to me, that's all commercial.
Right,
Okay?
right,
So I don't know whose powers that be
yeah,
that labeled it B3, C1. To me, this should be city and this should be industrial. So I asked about, okay, what's the deal on changing that?
right.
I don't know, you've got to circle the name 27 times and you've got to do it, all this, it's not even that feasible. It's not.
It would take a
even-
comprehensive plan.
Yeah. It's,
Well, I understand that to a certain extent, but it was my understanding the last time we talked that you were gonna go and get a better understanding and maybe divide them out between the Bs, if you will, for lack of a better word, and have some options there that kind of watered down the C1 level for this. Does that make sense? That's what you had said, that you were gonna go to the attorney and have a conversation with her in reference to maybe eliminating the power plant, if you will, but having a little bit higher use than what is currently stated on your,
And
that's what my understanding was.
And that's exactly what they said,
Okay.
was not recommending it because of the fact that C1 is essentially industrial, and then to carve those uses out, it would make it a spot zone, and that's not something that.
Okay,
Which
we
would
wanna
open
do.
us up to litigation with the neighbors. If you spot zone the property, then
Well, I think let's be real, you need to rezone it all. Let's be real. It's a problem in the first place. I mean, we kind of, if nothing else, the whole point was to highlight that whole area needs to be rezoned and is not safe for residential, period, in a sentence. And kind of rethink that in generalization. But it was my understanding, and it was your idea, and I liked the idea, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
but I really liked your idea of kind of watering down a C1 to kind of fit into the other zonings, but offering some other options than currently is present.
Yeah.
Because it kind of does lock your ability to create some sales tax, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So, and I did like your idea.
yeah, no, we'll have to, one thing that the council's looking to do is a comprehensive plan. And
Gotta have it, man.
one thing we've mentioned, because the last one was in 2005. So, I mean, those
I
are
know,
normally
it
good
was.
for 20 years. And one thing that we noticed was that the zoning is just, it's outdated. A lot of it, there's a lot of non-conforming uses based on our current zone because our zoning was enacted in the 80s, but most of Bartlett was platted in 1895.
Right.
So then now you got shotgun lots that don't even meet current zoning. They come in, they want to then do something with their property. We look at zoning and say, sorry, you don't have 75-foot width. You've got 25 feet. You can't do anything with this property. And so looking at how we can take the historical characteristic of the original platted Bartlett,
Mm-hmm.
so kind of maybe an overlay, and then
Right.
looking at the new Bartlett that's going to be coming, or along these commercial corridors, and saying what does zoning need to be there, and that's kind of the future land use plan, and then getting to that point.
Kind of the mentality of a strong city, right? Like you have the historical piece in the center, and then you have the industrial retail on the outskirts.
Yeah.
And so I really recommend and agree with you completely, because what will happen is Bartlett will get skipped and the other cities will move forward.
It's just going to take a plan and
Yep.
a lot of notices.
So item 14, any other discussion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we do not approve the rezoning of the amendment for ordinance 2023-113-02. Do I need to read the whole thing?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Weaver has a motion to not approve for the rezone with a Jesse Luna second. Not sure who pulled the trigger first over here. All in favor? Carries 5. Sorry, Gail. I'm sorry. All right. Thank y'all. All right, item number 15, consideration and possible action to approve a license agreement with the Bartlett Youth League for the use of the Becky Caldwell baseball field and complex. We got some members of the Becky Caldwell, or the Bartlett Youth League here. You guys want to step up? You're pretty happy sitting back there? Okay, well, y'all can sit back there.
I don't think we'll get lost in the crowd.
I don't know. So we brought this to the council a couple years ago. I guess maybe Vicky was the only one on the council then, maybe Jesse. We did an agreement with Bartlett Youth League. It's an interlocal agreement. It's come up for renewal.
Can you define, can you explain that relationship?
The,
Bartlett Youth League.
It was between the Bartlett Youth League and the city. I
It's-
just wasn't here the last time this was done, so I just wanted a better understanding.
Yes, they're just a,
they pretty much run, I mean, all the Bartlett youth sports.
Mhm.
Mr. Grigsby's here, he's the youth league president. Yes, sir?
I was gonna say, now, don't get us confused, because there's a new guy in town, and that's what they're calling themselves, is Bartlett Youth Sports. So Bartlett Youth League is basically, we're a volunteer organization that, I guess our sole, focus is providing kids the opportunity to play baseball and softball while maintaining the Becky Caldwell complex as far as the fields go. I know in the past, or originally, it was set up with like a playscape landscaping, like park deal out there. That's just something that for us as a volunteer basis, we haven't been able to like raise the funds to keep that side up, but we do keep the fields and, try to keep up with maintenance on the fields and do renovation projects. I know in the last 7 years, we've put in 2 new backstops, done some other stuff as far as like groundwork to the fields themselves, all that good stuff. That all of that up until this point has been at 0 cost to the city, all on volunteer basis.
So the city does own the Becky Caldwell complex, and we went into agreement with Bartlett Youth League a couple of years, which they've always been the ones out there doing everything, but just went under formal written agreement with them a couple of years ago because we had somebody else come in at the same time. And so the city at that point chose to go with Bartlett Youth League. And just like Mr. Grigsby said, they take care of the fields, they take care of a lot of things out there. They pretty much maintain that entire property. The city comes in when needed, which we've kind of dropped the ball on just because we're limited on employees. But we do have a lot of plans in place for this Becky Caldwell Fields complex to bring it back up to snuff and make it a nice place for all youth in the area to use the fields and tennis courts, maybe install a pickleball court, maybe
basketball court,
basketball hoops,
play skate.
play skate. So there's some plans in play, and we can discuss that later on down the line here on another item, item 17. But Youth League is looking for an agreement through September 1 of 2028. So a 5-year agreement basically is what they're asking for. That way we don't have to keep coming back every 2 years. So totally negotiable up to you guys, council.
This is an agreement, just a renewal of the existing agreement, correct?
Basically, yes, sir.
It is.
I thought we made some changes or something.
We did not really change any terms outside of the link that I can think of, Sharon.
That's the only thing we changed was the.
Yeah.
Because we talked, then we came and talked to y'all, and then we went back to us, and we're all in agreement. What's there, and our understanding of what's there, we're all on the same page.
I would just like to say one thing, though, I thought y'all were in here. My grandkids, my kids were very involved with this when they started playing on that till they aged out. And it is all parents, just like every other board that we have, just like every other thing that you ask somebody to volunteer for. You've got this many, and that's it.
Yeah, it's just like we just had a discussion a few minutes ago.
Kids and hanging with them.
Like we just had a discussion a few minutes ago about the library board and the MDV board. Hard to get volunteers, hard to get people to sign up to do anything for free around here. I mean, time is valuable. We get it, totally understand. It's extremely hard to find people. And you got a good group of people out there running the place, good group of people involved, been involved for a long time, care a lot about the youth in this area, the kids in this area. They do a good job. They do a good job. And my recommendation would be for us to go on with the agreement. That's page 3 here, pretty much lays out the city's duties, and it's pretty basic. We're maintaining the septic system because it's on a septic out there. It's outside the city. We maintain the light fixtures, which I think we had Curtis and the boys do maybe a year and a half ago. I think they did a bunch of lighting. And then we pay, the city is responsible for the utility bills. We're on the Bartlett Electric Co-op out there, so we do get a utility bill for that. And I think that's pretty much it. Solid waste. So anybody have any questions? I believe, Brandon, you are the president, right?
Yes, sir.
And everybody knows that other lady over here, Miss Sharon Randy.
And
I don't go by that anymore.
And I'd just like to give you an idea, like the last 2 years, roughly from, well, I mean, we'll start our season with practicing in March, weather dependent, exact age, type deal, but depending on how we affiliate, because we've gone back and forth with joining state organizations the last 2 years, we've actually gone independent, joining some other towns around us, but we'll run from March till mid to late June normally. But the last 2 years, those fields see anywhere from 75 to about 125 games a year out there is what, as far as bringing people to town and stuff like that. Each of the last 2 years, maybe 3, I'd have to go back and look because the COVID year may have got us. But typically we host at least one tournament that's a 2 to 3 day tournament that brings in, as far as revenue, the local convenience stores, and if we have restaurants, like you ought to get some business rolling in town from it. You're looking at that aspect also.
Well, and last year, half of our games were out-of-town games because our fields dry so much faster than anybody else's. And of course, that led to a parking dilemma, but it's used a lot.
It is.
And a lot of kids go out there, I mean, if they're pitching or doing batting practice, they'll go out there all year, and there aren't even any bases out there, but they're still out there.
So last year, in the spring, we had a lot of rain. You remember that before the big drought? Remember we had all that rain? The neighboring cities, all their fields are flooded because they don't drain. Bartlett drains real well. They built it up real nice. It's got slope, drains off. They were playing like Holland against Florence in Bartlett, and like Academy and Rogers playing. And, I mean, there's these, cities that are not even tied to Bartlett driving all the way to Bartlett, playing in Bartlett. These guys would go out there, turn on the lights, umpire the games. And, I mean, you had lots of visitors in the community. So, which Brandon said is good. I mean, they go where they go. Well, we don't have restaurants, so they go to the convenience stores, they go to the concession stand, they go to the convenience stores, the Dollar Trees, Dollar Generals. So it's bringing a little bit of revenue, sales tax revenue into the city. So we can get some restaurants popping up in here, well, even better. And so it's good. I recommend going through with the agreement with these guys. You guys can discuss, ask them questions. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done out there. A lot of work, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And we got some plans in place. So.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve the license agreement with Bartlett Youth League for the use of Becky Caldwell baseball field and complex.
Ms. Cooper's made a motion to go into the agreement with Bartlett Youth League with a Shelton Gilmore second. All in favor? 5-0. Brandon and Sharon, before y'all leave, if y'all could sign this for us, or y'all can come back this week and sign it.
I'm not coming back, so I'll stay.
Item number 16, consideration and possible action to move forward with the Texas Water Development Board DW SRF application for planning, design, and engineering of water and wastewater system projects.
So, Mayor and Council, as y'all know, we been looking at the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant. And earlier, y'all had submitted for the Texas Water Development Board the drinking water SRF, and we were approved. We were on the list, and then, as you all know, there was a certain level of funding that was kind of promised, and then that was pulled. And then last that we heard was they'd give us $1 million debt forgiveness, and then I think $105,000 for the asset management plan. And given that this is going to be a project that'll cost the city around $15 million for the wastewater treatment plant, and then also the collection system improvements, what we are recommending is looking at doing design primarily right now. The reason being, the hope is to reapply later for construction, and utilizing the fact that are under design is something that would give us more points and hopefully get us higher up on the list to secure some more funding to then not have to take out as much debt and have some more, either loan forgiveness or grants of some sort that would help for providing the construction of this. So what you have in front of you is kind of the breakout of the project itself, what the engineering costs are for the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. If you are looking at what it would cost to do the design of the engineering plant, or the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system, the design would be around 1.785 million. Now, again, we have $1 million loan forgiveness that we are about to lose because we are no longer considered disadvantaged according to the Texas Water Development Board. So this is kind of our one shot to get some funding and get some free money. So my recommendation would be to you all is to allow the mayor and I to move forward with submitting for 1.785 to do the design of the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. What that then totals out to, and you'll see this in your packet of kind of what our financial advisor drew up, what those debt payments would be. It's around $50,000 a year, which is minimal as far as debt payments go. And it's something that would be easily covered by the utility revenue and then also just property tax. I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is something that's absolutely needed. The longer we prolong this, our wastewater treatment plant per TCEQ standards is not something that they'll let us operate on forever. It's more of an antiquated plant. They'd like to move away from the Three Lagoon Basin to more of a modern wastewater treatment plant. And so that's what we need to start showing some efforts towards in order for them to kind of, what would it be with our violations that we've got? They would essentially
start daily fines.
Yeah.
So it's just something that's like, I don't know, they've been having issues with the wastewater treatment plant since I've been in Bartlett, 13 years, and that's something that TCEQ is basically the only fix is to replace it. I mean, no matter if it's working 100%, the only fix is to replace it. And so this, the Meyer said, we have until about, middle of next week to tell Texas Water Development Board, do we want to go through with this $1 million loan forgiveness? Or do we want to say, not right now, let them take that $1 million and spend it somewhere else, put it back in their, their funding. Or do we want to go through with it? Then we can check the box in March whenever we fill out the application again, and it's like 10 additional points. So it's that you're already in the design phase of, you'll be able to allow to check that box saying that you are in the design phase of the project. And then once the design and everything is done, back, sitting in a binder on the shelf, doesn't have an expiration date, and maybe some tweaks to it later on. but minimum. Once that's sitting there on the shelf, and then whenever you do get approved for more funding, or whenever you do find the funding, you can start the project as soon as it's funded, not have to wait another year or 18 months or however long it takes to do the design phase. And so the design phase does take some time. I mean, it's,
Takes about 12 to 16 months.
yeah, so it's, so do we say thanks but no thanks, Water Development Board? Or do we go through with getting the design phase, get it? I mean, this is something that's got to happen. We've had probably 4 different developers hit us up in this last week. And so the only way this developments are going to work is if we have a new wastewater treatment plant.
It makes a lot of sense to be proactive, in my opinion.
So,
I have a couple of questions.
yes,
So
sir.
one, if you get the $1 million now, does it impact the city in any way to get future money in a negative way? That'd be my first question. And then my second question, could you take the $1 million and use that just for design?
Yeah, the design portion of the whole project is about $1.75 million. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's
$1.75 million?
extremely ridiculous. I totally 100% agree. Engineering is outlandish.
The way that we understand it as well is that if you already have that engineering done in place, then you actually gain points toward
You get,
the forgiveness.
I think it's like 10 additional points.
Absolutely.
And
that's
as it-
true.
To your first question, we asked that very same question to the Texas Water Development Board. And that's when they told us, this is your last shot to use that $1 million forgiveness. After December, their board convenes and they go into their new application and say, all right, now we're going to be looking at new scoring. And so we essentially lose, because I think we heard about this back in June, July, probably, that we had made the list.
It's a total of like a $17 million project.
Right.
With the collection system, which is 10,000 plus linear, basically 2 miles of clay pipe replacement throughout the community, 23 manholes, I believe, 2 lift station upgrades, whole bunch of well-needed project, plus a brand new lift station, the sewer treatment plant. So all that was like about 17 some odd $1 million. Well, we made the cut. We were number 24 out of 24. And right up front, Texas Water Development Board said that we qualified for $10 million loan forgiveness. Okay, well, right at the very end, about maybe 4 months ago or so, when we were going through all this, here they come. They ripped the rug out from underneath us. They said they only had $1 million left. They only had $24 million to play with from the get-go. And we were number 24. So it's like. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to us, but yeah, they ripped the rug out from underneath us, put the whole project on hold because obviously we can't afford the $16 million. Right. And so it's either we take the $1 million right now, go through with the planning stage, or we just say, man, we'll talk about it next year.
I don't see the downside.
It's
free
Go
money.
ahead and do it, Chad. Won't that keep TCEQ off us a little bit?
It
Yes.
does. It will definitely help them because then we're saying we're working with Texas Water Development Board.
And we've got our plan
You got
under
the
design.
process started anyway.
It'll actually gain us.
It's It's like we're in the design phase. We're working with Water Development Board. So
I'd
that's
like to make a motion
Mr. Weaver would like to make a motion.
that we move forward with this, with the mayor and do. I'll make that motion.
You seconded that?
What,
I know you can't hear because of the horn, but
Philip made a motion.
Philip made a motion. You seconded. Okay. Philip made a motion that we proceed on with the $1 million loan forgiveness process.
1.7.
Gail has seconded that motion. All in favor? Item number 17, consideration and possible action to appropriate $15,000 for renovations at Becky Caldwell Park. So as we spoke on earlier, Becky Caldwell Park, we know what that is. The MDD met last month, a couple weeks ago, and during their meeting, this was brought up. Just so everybody else knows, LCRA is who we buy our energy from. LCRA sent me an email, me and Myra an email one morning, and said that they had $1,500 laying on the table for the city of Bartlett to do, just a random project with. Didn't matter what it was. You know, they kind of give a whole lot of recommendations. So $1,500, we decided at that point, you know, we're gonna use it at Becky Caldwell. Took it to MDD to see if they would match, you know, the 1,500. Well, they said they'll match up to 15,000.
1,500 or 15,000?
LCRA is 1,500.
I wish it was.
MDD said they would match up to 15,000. Okay, so now we have 16,500. But their MDD's matching is they will match whatever the city puts in up to 15,000. So if the city puts in 15,000, then you got 31,500. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done out there. I mean, $31,000 will go a long way. It's probably not everything that needs to be done out there, but it needs a lot of TLC. Could be a lot of things, like we mentioned earlier. The tennis courts out there are in really, the slab is in great shape. Me and Philip walked it. There's not a crack on that slab. You would think with all that farmland out there, that thing constantly moving, that the slab must be 37 inches deep or something. I don't know. But the slab's great. We can revamp the tennis courts. Pickleball's a new big deal. Basketball court or basketball goals. Multiple things you can do there. Play skate up around the concession stand. The concession stand needs a lot of work. I've got a lot of materials I'm going to donate to the city for the concession stand. We're going to need some labor. People who can
This
swing
can
it.
be leased out by anybody in the city. It's not just in reference to the Bartlett Youth League, correct?
I think that you have to work with the youth league to get the lease.
To get the lease,
To
or
lease
just like
it
to
out.
rent it out
To
for a
rent-
day
to
or
rent it out.
whatever.
Well, it depends on what you're wanting to do, Ms. Cooper. It depends on what you want to do. I
I'm
mean,
just trying to get it, yeah.
if you want to go out there and play
If you wanna go
tennis,
out there on a Wednesday night and play pickleball, you go ahead. and do
Yeah,
something.
Right, right.
yeah, it's a park.
city
It's a city
park.
park, you know, so
Got
it's like, it's open to the public. And so,
The
That's
ball
what I was
field is
trying
where
now if
the,
there's like baseball games going on out there,
Sure.
you know, you're not going to go out there and have a
Right.
kickball tournament in the middle of a baseball field while they're playing baseball games. You
Right,
know,
I just didn't know if it was like, if
yeah.
it was open to the city, I guess.
And I would say if you ever want to use the fields for a kickball tournament or anything like that, then you would want to go through the Bartlett Youth League and just kind of square things up with
Right.
them. So,
And they have fundraisers and everything else to be financially plugged in as well.
the Youth
the
League?
bash.
Yeah, the youth league.
Yeah, they do. They have like they haven't done it in the last year or so because of
We haven't
COVID,
done it in 2 years.
2 years because of the COVID, but they do, it's the Bartlett Blast, right?
Ours is the blowout.
The blowout. Blowout. The Blast is the
Is the,
the ag.
it's same people.
Same thing, same people, same type of thing, reverse rifle, good prizes, but yeah, that's the man to talk to about that. But, other than that, city,
Well, I have a question about the matching.
yes, ma'am.
Does the matching have to be cash or can it be labor?
I think from our perspective, it's the cash. We do have folks that are contributing. Obviously, y'all have board members that are going to be donating their time and do plumbing and whatnot. And then we've got the mayor who's going to be donating materials. But that's not going to be something that we consider towards the cash value.
Now, like Texas Parks and Wildlife, we went and got a Texas Parks and Wildlife grant. They're 50-50.
And it's
They
labor.
will consider, you know, in-kind donations, and so, which is
That's
volunteer,
why I asked.
you know. But it's, you know, $15,000.
Do we have it?
We have it.
Okay. I make a motion that we. Make a motion that we, are y'all through talking? Y'all done?
Phyllis
Y'all
face. Where?
I make a motion that we approve for $15,000 for renovations at Becky Caldwell Place.
Second.
Bill.
Ms. Cooper's made a motion. Was that you, Gail? Gail second. Gail woke up over there. It must be
Meds are wearing on.
wet and edgeware.
He wants to go home.
All in favor? All in favor? I guess it passes five.
Gail, you in favor?
He-
Yeah, he's seconded.
He's seconded.
He's all right. He's good.
Item number 18, consideration and possible action to adopt a statement of financial goals and policies.
So
Here's a statement of financial goals and policies.
This will be the goals and policies that the city would adopt, and we would work off our budget. A lot of this we currently already do, but this is just kind of makes it more official. The reason that we're doing this is we want to go after the general land office grant to do the comprehensive plan. And so, one of the requirements is having a financial goals and policies adopted, as well as what you'll see in the next item is a procurement policy. And so in working with Langford, this was something that we worked up. We have ran this through our bond counsel, our financial advisor, and our city attorney. We have then amended it, and from our perspective, it looks great. And so this is more so just to make sure that we can get on track of applying for that GLO grant.
Any questions? This one doesn't cost us anything.
We'll make the motion, we adopt the statement of financial goals and policies.
Mr. Weaver made a motion, Shelton Gilmore seconded. All in favor, carries 5-0. Item number 19, same thing, consideration and possible action to adopt federal grant procurement policy. Boom, right there. Same thing, part of the GLO application process. Ran it through the lawyers, ran it through the bond counsel, ran it through the financial advisor, ran it through the ringer. Just needs that final twist. Or not.
I make a motion that we consider, you gonna do it, Sheldon?
You already started, Ms. Cooper. I already wrote you down. Ms. Cooper's made a motion.
To adopt the federal grant procurement policy. Look at that.
I'll second for
Procurement policy.
Sheldon seconded. All in favor? See, that wasn't that bad. 5-0. So y'all can read up on that, the checklist from the GLO. It's right there on that last binder in your channel era. So going into executive session one more time here tonight. In accordance with Texas Government Code, Section 551.001, the City Council will recess an executive session to discuss the following. Item number 20, 551.074, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, compensation, reassignment, duties, discipline, and or dismissal of a public employee or officer regarding the chief of police. We will go into executive session at 8:35 p.m. How about Mr. Presidente, you want to sign right there? And Miss Randy, if you'll sign right there, and Miss Brenda, if you can sign right there. And then
do we still go forward on?
It is past my bedtime.
What?
6 o'clock.
I'm like 10 o'clock.
Hey. Where'd Ken go? All right, y'all ready for this?
I don't know, you tell us.
We'll reconvene at 9:25 PM. Take any action, if any, on matters discussed in executive session. Do I need to read that number 20 again? Do I need to read number 20 again?
No, you can just take action
So we're here to take action.
We approved the contract.
as amended.
We approved the contract for the police chief as amended.
Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Who seconded?
Jesse.
We got a Ms. Cooper motion to approve the contract as amended with a Jesse Lynn a second. All in favor? All against? So it does pass 4-1. Future agenda items. None. We get a motion to adjourn
I make a motion to adjourn.
with a second, Philip. Call the meeting at 9:27 PM. Good meeting.
My office is open.